The small research ship hummed quietly as it moved through the darkness of space. Lieutenant Tae Kim stared at the screen showing the strange planet below. He had never seen readings like these before. The planet should not have life on it, but the scanners showed thousands of large life forms moving across its surface. "Lieutenant, the Confederation Council ship has arrived," said Jay, the ship's computer. Taewon nodded and straightened his uniform. The Confederation was sending their best scientist to look at his discovery. He felt both proud and nervous. The large silver ship of the Galactic Confederation dwarfed Taewon's small research vessel as it docked. He waited at the airlock, back, straight and face calm despite his racing heart. The door slid open with a soft hiss. 3 aliens stepped through first. A tall, blue-skinned Velexi with 4 arms, a short, round Gorn with eyes that blinked sideways, and a thin green Phyrex that seemed to float rather than walk. Behind them came a human woman. "Second Lieutenant Tae Kim," the Velexi said in the common language. "I am Senior Diplomat Kez. We have brought Dr. Hyjin Park to examine your discovery." The human woman stepped forward. She was shorter than Taewon, with short black hair and eyes that seemed to miss nothing. She wore the white and blue uniform of the Confederation Science Division. "Lieutenant Kim," she said, offering her hand. "I've reviewed your initial scans. Very interesting work." Taewon shook her hand. "Thank you, Doctor. I wasn't sure anyone would believe me." "The Confederation takes all strange discoveries seriously," said the Gorn in a rumbling voice. "Though many think coming here is a waste of time." Dr. Park smiled at the alien. "And yet here you are, Ambassador Tull." "We should prepare for landing," Taewon said quickly, before the ambassadors could start arguing. "I've found a safe spot near one of the largest groups of creatures." The Phyrex made a sound like whistling wind. "Define safe, Lieutenant." "As safe as possible on a planet full of monsters," Taewon replied honestly. The landing ship shook as it entered the planet's atmosphere. Through the windows they could see vast forests and plains stretching to the horizon. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks hidden in clouds. "The creatures seemed to gather in the valleys," Taewon explained, pointing to red dots on the map. "They move in groups of 5 to 15. "How big are they?" Dr. Park asked, leaning closer to the screen. "The smallest are about 4 meters long. The largest—" Taewon hesitated. "Almost 20 meters. The aliens exchanged looks. "And you want to land near them?" Ambassador Tull asked. "We'll stay at a safe distance," Taewon assured them, "but we need to be close enough to observe." Dr. Park nodded in agreement. "I didn't come all this way to look at dots on a screen." The ship landed in a clearing surrounded by tall trees with purple leaves. The air was breathable but smelled strange, like cinnamon and metal mixed together. The gravity was slightly lower than Earth standard, making them all feel lighter on their feet. Taewon's team of 3 human researchers had already set up a small base camp. They stood at attention as the Confederation representative stepped out of the ship. "At ease," Taewon called. "This is Dr. Hyjin Park and the Confederation delegation." A young researcher named Jun stepped forward eagerly. "Doctor, you should see this right away." He handed her a tablet. "We've been tracking the creatures' movements. They're not random, they have patterns." "Hunting patterns?" Dr. Park asked. Jun shook his head. "It's more complex than that. Almost like patrols." The Velexi diplomat leaned over to look. "Animals do not patrol. They hunt, they mate, they sleep." "These aren't normal animals," Taewon said quietly. "Look." He pointed to the edge of the forest. At first, they saw nothing. Then something moved. It stepped into the clearing slowly. The creature was massive, at least 10 meters long from snout to tail. It walked on 4 powerful legs, each ending in claws as long as a human arm. Its body was covered in plates that looked like armor, dark blue with streaks of silver. Its head was large, with eyes that glowed faintly yellow in the shadows. But most surprising was how quietly it moved. Something so large should shake the ground, but it was nearly silent. The aliens quickly retreated to the ship. Only Tae-wan, Dr. Park, and the human researchers remained outside. "We call them Titans," Jun whispered. The creature turned its head toward them. Its nostrils flared as it caught their scent. "Don't move," Tae-wan said softly. "It's deciding if we're a threat." From inside the ship, Ambassador Tull's voice came through their earpieces. "Get back inside immediately, that is an order." Dr. Park ignored him. Instead, she slowly reached into her pocket and pulled out a ration bar. The Titan's eyes tracked her movement. "What are you doing?" Tae-wan hissed. "Testing a theory," she replied calmly. Then she took a small step forward. "That's insane," Jun whispered. "Humanity's greatest strength," Dr. Park said, taking another, careful step, "is that we're the only species crazy enough to do things like this." From the ship, they could hear the aliens arguing about whether to close the doors and take off. But they were all watching too, unable to look away from what seemed like certain death. The Titan lowered its massive head. It was now eye level, with Dr. Park, who stood her ground despite being dwarfed by the creature. She held out the ration bar in her open palm. "Our ancestors didn't just survive alongside predators," she said softly, though her voice carried in the still air. "We tamed wolves while we were still living in caves. We rode horses into battle. We've always been able to connect with dangerous animals." The Titan sniffed the air. Then, with surprising delicacy, it extended a forked tongue and took the food from her hand. Inside the ship, one of the aliens fainted. "Remarkable," Tae-wan breathed. The Titan finished the food and looked at Dr. Park expectantly. She slowly raised her empty hand. For a heart-stopping moment, the creature stared at her. Then it lowered its head again, allowing her to touch its armored snout. "I need to document this," Jun said, his voice shaking with excitement. He raised his camera slowly. The flash startled the Titan. It jerked back, making a sound like thunder. Then it turned and raced back into the forest, moving with impossible speed for something so large. "I apologize for my colleague's mistake," Dr. Park called after it. Then she turned back to the others with a wide smile. "But now we know it's possible." "Possible?" Tae-wan asked. "To connect with them." She looked into the forest where the Titan had disappeared. "This changes everything, Lieutenant." Later that night, as they analyzed the data from their first encounter, Dr. Park showed Tae-wan something interesting on her tablet. "Look at these brain scans," she said. "The Titan's brain is 3 times larger than it should be for a creature its size. And these patterns here?" She pointed to colorful areas on the scan. "These suggest intelligence, not just animal intelligence, something more." "What are you saying?" Tae-wan asked. Dr. Park looked up, her eyes bright with excitement. "I'm saying we might be dealing with something that can understand us. And if we can understand them in return, the Confederation will never approve research like that," Tae-wan warned. "They're already frightened." "Let them be frightened," Dr. Park replied. "Humans have a special gift. We don't just survive dangerous worlds. We form bonds with the most dangerous creatures on them. It's what we've always done." Outside their camp in the darkness of the alien forest, Yellow Eyes watched and waited. 6 months had passed since the first contact with the Titans. The small camp had grown into a proper research base. New buildings made of white metal stood in the clearing. A tall fence surrounded the area, though everyone knew it would not stop a Titan if one really wanted to get in. Commander Do-hyun Choi stepped off the transport ship and took a deep breath of the strange-smelling air. He had read all the reports about Planet Titan, as it was now called, but reports could not prepare him for seeing it with his own eyes. "Commander Choi," Tae-wan said, saluting. He was no longer a lieutenant, but a captain now. "Welcome to Project Titan." "At ease, Captain Kim," Do-hyun replied. "Show me what my money is paying for." Tae-wan smiled. "Follow me, sir." As they walked through the base, Do-hyun noticed the mix of humans and aliens working together. Most of the aliens wore the blue uniforms of the Confederation Science Division. They looked nervous, glancing often at the trees surrounding the base. "The Confederation is still not happy about this project," Do-hyun said quietly. "They sent more scientists anyway," Tae-wan pointed out. "They're scared, but curious." They reached a large open area at the center of the base. Do-hyun stopped, in surprise. A human woman stood in the middle of the field. Beside her was a young Titan. This Titan was smaller than the one Do-hyun had seen in the videos, maybe only 5 meters long. Its armor plates were lighter in color, almost silver instead of dark blue. It moved around the woman in a circle, keeping its yellow eyes fixed on her. "That's Hanul Lee, our chief trainer," Taewon explained. "And that's Sky, one of our first successful contacts." Hanul raised her hand. The Titan stopped moving. She lowered her hand, and the Titan lowered its head to the ground. She stepped forward and placed her hand on its snout. "Impossible," Do-hyun whispered. Several aliens stood behind a clear barrier, taking notes and recording the interaction. Their expressions ranged from fear to amazement. "That's what they all say," Taewon said with pride. "But we've been doing the impossible for 6 months now." Hanul saw them watching and waved them over. Do-hyun hesitated, but Taewon was already walking across the field. Reluctantly, the commander followed. "Sky, we have visitors," Hanul said to the Titan. The creature turned its head to look at them. Do-hyun felt his heart race as those yellow eyes fixed on him. "Don't show fear," Hanul advised. "They can sense it. Just stay calm and move slowly." "You're asking me to stand next to a monster and not be afraid?" Do-hyun asked. Hanul smiled. "Sky isn't a monster. He's just a young Titan, learning about humans." She held out her hand, and to Do-hyun's shock, the Titan gently bumped its nose against her palm like a giant dog. "How is this possible?" Do-hyun asked. "The report said these creatures killed 3 security guards just 2 months ago." "That was a different Titan," Taewon explained. "An adult that wandered too close to the base. These younger ones are more adaptable. We start them young," Hanul added. "Just like Earth animals. The younger they are when they first meet humans, the easier it is to form a bond." A loud alarm suddenly blared across the base. Sky raised his head, making a low rumbling sound in his throat. "Perimeter alert," Taewon said, checking his wrist device. "Adult Titan approaching from the north." The aliens ran for the safety of the main building, but Hanul stayed with Sky, speaking softly to keep him calm. "You should get inside, Commander," Taewon suggested. Do-hyun shook his head. "I want to see this." They moved to a raised platform where they could view the northern edge of the base. Beyond the fence, the trees shook. Then a massive Titan stepped into view. It was at least 3 times larger than Sky. Its armor plates were dark blue with streaks of red. Scars marked its face and neck. It looked at the base and let out a roar that shook the air itself. "That's Big Red," Taewon said. "He's the leader of the northern pack." "You named it?" Do-hyun asked in disbelief. "Dr. Park named it, actually. She's been tracking his movements for months." Speaking of Dr. Park, she now appeared on the field below them. She wore a strange vest covered in small devices. Hanul was putting on a similar vest. "What are they doing?" Do-hyun demanded. "Protocol, Phoenix," Taewon replied. "Watch." Dr. Park and Hanul took positions on opposite sides of the field. Sky moved to stand between them. The adult Titan, Big Red, paced along the fence, watching them with what looked like curiosity. Dr. Park raised her hand and made a sharp whistle. Sky immediately turned toward her. She made another sound, and the young Titan made a series of calls. High-pitched for a Titan, but still deep enough to feel in your chest. Big Red stopped pacing. He tilted his head, listening. Hanul pressed something on her vest, and it produced a low humming sound. She then made hand signals to Sky, who responded with more calls. To Do-hyun's amazement, Big Red answered with a rumble of his own. "They're communicating," Taewon explained. "We don't understand their language yet, but we're learning. The vests help amplify and modify human sounds to frequencies the Titans respond to." "This is beyond what I expected," Do-hyun admitted. "Our ancestors didn't just hunt animals," Taewon said. "They formed partnerships with them. Wolves became dogs. Wild horses carried us into battle. What other species sees a dangerous predator and thinks, 'I could work with that'?" The exchange continued for several minutes. Finally, Big Red made a deep sound like distant thunder and turned away, disappearing back into the forest. Later, in the main lab, Dr. Park showed Do-hyun the data they had collected. "We've identified 47 distinct sounds they make," she explained. "Each has a specific meaning: warning, greeting, territory claim, food location. They have a complex social structure." "And you think you can use this to control them?" Do-hyun asked. Dr. Park frowned. "Not control. Partner with them. There's a difference." "The Confederation doesn't see a difference," Do-hyun pointed out. "They're already worried about how this will change the balance of power in the galaxy." "That's their problem," Dr. Park replied. "We're making history here. Humans are the only species in the Confederation willing to do this work. The others are too afraid." "Perhaps they're right to be afraid," Do-hyun suggested. "Or perhaps," Taewon said, "this is why humans have survived for so long. We don't just run from danger. We learn to live with it, understand it, and eventually work alongside it." That night, Do-hyun stood at the window of his room, looking out at the strange purple forest. In the distance, he could see the glowing yellow eyes of Titans moving through the trees. They were watching the base. "Insanity," he muttered. Yet he couldn't deny the feeling of pride. Only humans would try to tame these creatures. Only humans would be crazy enough to think it possible, and only humans, it seemed, were succeeding. 2 years had passed since the discovery of planet Titan. What began as a small research outpost had become a major Confederation facility. The base now covered several square kilometers, with buildings, training fields, and research labs spread across the clearing. Captain Ji-ho Kang's ship docked at the orbital station above the planet. He had been sent with urgent news from Earth Command. As he rode the shuttle down to the surface, he looked out the window at the landscape below. The purple forests still dominated the planet, but now there were human roads cutting through them. The shuttle landed at the main platform. Ji-ho was surprised to see Colonel Taewon Kim waiting for him. The former lieutenant had risen quickly through the ranks thanks to the success of Project Titan. "Captain Kang," Taewon greeted him with a salute. "Welcome to Titan Base." "Thank you, Colonel," Ji-ho replied, returning the salute. "I have important information from Command." Taewon nodded. "We can talk in my office, but first there's something you should see." They walked to an observation deck overlooking a massive training field. Ji-ho stopped in surprise. Below them, 6 humans rode on the backs of juvenile Titans. The riders wore special suits with glowing blue lines running through them. Each Titan had a simple saddle and harness. "The Titan Rider program," Taewon said with pride. "Our latest breakthrough." "This wasn't in any of the reports," Ji-ho said, watching as the riders guided their Titans through complex movements. "We've kept it quiet. The Confederation is already nervous about our progress." One rider on a silver-gray Titan broke away from the group. The Titan moved with incredible speed, its powerful legs eating up the distance across the field. The rider leaned forward, almost lying flat against the creature's neck. They turned sharply and jumped over a barrier. "That's Sang-hoon Park, our lead rider," Taewon explained. "He's riding Storm, one of our first second-generation Titans born here at the base." "You've bred them?" Ji-ho asked in surprise. "With permission from the parent Titans, yes." Taewon smiled at Ji-ho's shocked expression. "We've learned a lot. In 2 years, Captain." They continued to Taewon's office where a woman was waiting for them. She had short black hair streaked with gray and wore a lab coat with numerous devices attached to it. "Dr. Hyejin Park," Taewon introduced her, "our head scientist and the pioneer of the Neural Link program." "The Neural what?" Ji-ho asked. Dr. Park held up a small device that looked like a metal disc. "Neural Link, a connection between human and Titan minds. It allows riders to communicate with their partners through thought." "That sounds..." Ji-ho searched for the right word. "Insane?" Dr. Park suggested with a smile. "That's what the Confederation representative said. But it works." "Show him the specs," Taewon said. Dr. Park activated a holographic display showing A human brain alongside a Titan brain. Lines of light connected different areas between them. The link translates human thoughts into signals Titans can understand and vice versa, she explained. It started with simple commands: stop, go, turn. But now they can share complex ideas, even emotions. How is this possible? Jiho asked. Engineer Yoonji Min developed the technology, Dr. Park said. She adapted Confederation neural interfaces to work with Titan brain patterns. Jiho shook his head in amazement. Then he remembered why he had come. Colonel, I have urgent news, he said. The Drakkar Collective has learned about Project Titan. Our intelligence reports say they view this as a military threat. Taewon's expression turned serious. The Drakkar, always looking for an advantage. They've been building up forces in nearby systems, Jiho continued. Command believes they might be planning to raid the base, steal our research. Let them try, Dr. Park said calmly. They won't find us as helpless as they expect. A loud alarm suddenly echoed through the base. Red lights flashed in the office. Proximity alert, Taewon said, checking his computer. Ships entering the atmosphere. His eyes widened. Drakkar signatures. That's impossible, Jiho said. How? Did they get past the orbital defenses? Questions for later, Taewon replied, pressing a button on his desk. All personnel, this is Colonel Kim. We have Code Red. Initiate Defense Protocol Alpha. Dr. Park was already moving. I'll get the riders ready. Jiho followed Taewon to the command center. Screens showed 5 Drakkar ships descending toward the base. The Drakkar were known for their reptilian appearance and aggressive tactics. Their ships were angular and dark, designed for fast attacks. Where are our defense ships? Jiho asked. The nearest response fleet is 20 minutes away, an officer reported. Taewon nodded grimly. Then we'll have to handle this ourselves. On another screen, Jiho saw Dr. Park with a group of riders. They wore full combat gear now, with helmets that covered their heads completely. They were mounting their Titans quickly. You're sending the riders against armed ships? Jiho asked in disbelief. Watch, Taewon said simply. The Drakkar ships landed around the base perimeter. Soldiers began pouring out, tall, scaled beings with advanced weapons. They moved toward the base in formation, clearly expecting to meet only scientists and researchers. Instead, they met the Titans. 8 riders burst from the main gate, their Titans moving with incredible speed. Each Titan stood about 7 meters, tall at the shoulder, with armor plates that now gleamed with added metal reinforcements. Some riders carried energy weapons, but others were armed only with long spears. The Drakkar soldiers fired, but the energy bolts seemed to glance off the Titan's armor. The creatures didn't slow down. They crashed into the Drakkar lines like a wave hitting rocks. Jiho watched in amazement as lead rider Sang-hoon directed his Titan with nothing but slight movements and presumably thoughts through the neural link. The silver-gray Titan named Storm grabbed a Drakkar soldier in its mouth and tossed the alien aside like a toy. Then it spun and used its tail to sweep 3 more enemies off their feet. The neural link gives riders and Titans perfect coordination, Taewon explained. No command delays. They move as one. The other riders showed similar skills. One female rider guided her Titan to leap directly over a group of Drakkar, landing behind them and cutting off their retreat. Another rider's Titan breathed out a cloud of gas that made Drakkar soldiers collapse where they stood. They can control the Titan's natural defenses, Taewon said, noting Jiho's surprise. The gas is normally used to stun prey. The battle was short. The Drakkar, clearly not expecting such resistance, retreated to their ships. As they lifted off, Sang-hoon and 3 other riders pursued on their Titans. They can't catch ships, Jiho protested. Taewon smiled. No, but they can mark them for our defense forces. Indeed, the Titans were spitting glowing liquid onto the hulls of the ships. On the radar screen, Jiho saw that the marked ships were now sending out strong signals that would be easy to track. Later, when the Confederation Defense Fleet had captured the Drakkar raiders, Jiho stood with Taewon and Dr. Park watching. The riders returned to the base. The Titans moved proudly, seemingly aware of their victory. We've been riding dangerous animals into battle for thousands of years, Jiho said. repeating something he had read in the Project Titan reports. What looks like madness to other species is our evolutionary advantage. Taiwan nodded. The Confederation needs to understand that. We're not just training pets. We're forming partnerships that could change everything. Dr. Park looked thoughtful. The Titans chose us in a way. They could have killed us all when we first landed. Instead, they watched, they learned, and eventually, they decided to work with us. Why? Jiho asked. That, she said with a smile, is what we're still trying to figure out. The news of the Drakkar attack and its defeat spread quickly through the Confederation. 3 months after the battle, Ambassador Minseo Quan arrived from Earth. Her sleek diplomatic ship landed at Titan Base on a clear morning. Colonel Taiwan. Kim and Dr. Hyejin Park greeted her at the landing pad. The ambassador was tall and elegant, wearing the formal blue and gold uniform of Earth Diplomatic Corps. Ambassador, Taiwan said with a salute. Welcome to Titan Base, Minseo nodded. Colonel Kim, Dr. Park. I bring urgent news from the Confederation. Council. Good news or bad news? Dr. Park asked. Both, Minseo replied. And something else entirely. We should talk privately. They moved to a secure meeting room in the central building. Large windows overlooked the training fields where riders were working with their Titans. The council is divided over Project Titan, Minseo explained once they were seated. Many species view humans as dangerously unpredictable. They're calling for restrictions on human expansion. Because we've succeeded where they failed? Taiwan asked. Because you're doing something they consider insane, Minseo corrected. Forming partnerships with predators that could destroy entire colonies. The Titans aren't a threat as long as we respect them, Dr. Park argued. Minseo raised a hand. I agree, but fear isn't logical. After seeing footage of the Titan riders defeating the Drakkar, many council members are concerned about the balance of power. So what happens now? Taiwan asked. A Confederation inspection team is coming. They'll evaluate the program and make recommendations to the council. Dr. Park frowned. They'll try to shut us down. Possibly, Minseo admitted. Unless you can prove the Titans aren't a threat to galactic peace. A knock at the door interrupted them. A young man in a rider's uniform entered. His face was lined with exhaustion, but his eyes were bright with excitement. Dr. Park, Colonel, he said quickly. Something's happened. You need to come to the link chamber right away. What is it, Junho? Dr. Park asked, standing up. It's Thunder, Junho replied. He showed me something important. Taiwan turned to Minseo. Ambassador, would you like to see what a true neural link can reveal? The link chamber was a circular room in the science building. The walls were covered with monitors showing brain patterns, vital signs, and neural activity. In the center was a padded chair connected to various machines. Junho Bei sat in the chair. He was the most experienced of the Titan riders, partnered with a massive blue-black Titan named Thunder. His neural link implant glowed softly at the base of his skull. Show them what you showed me, Junho said, speaking apparently to the air. The largest screen on the wall flickered. Images appeared. Not clear pictures, but blurry impressions. They showed strange beings with long limbs and bulbous heads. These beings were working on what looked like eggs, but much larger. What are we seeing? Minseo asked. Thunder's genetic memory, Dr. Park explained, her voice filled with awe. Passed down through generations of Titans. Genetic memory? Taiwan repeated. Is that possible? Apparently so, Dr. Park said. The Titans store ancestral experiences in specialized neural structures. Junho's deep link with Thunder accessed these memories. The images changed, showing the strange beings running in panic. Something was attacking them. Then darkness. They're not natural, Junho said softly. The Titans were created by another species long ago, bioengineered as weapons. Minseo stepped closer to the screen. Who were these beings? What happened to them? They're extinct, Junho replied. They created the Titans to fight for them in some ancient war, but the Titans became too difficult to control. So they abandoned them here on this planet. How long ago? Taiwan asked. Dr. Park checked a display. Based on the radiation signatures in the memory patterns, at least 50,000 years. And the Titans have been waiting all this time, Junho continued, evolving, developing, watching the skies for someone who wouldn't try to control them, but would partner with them. He looked up at the others. Someone crazy enough to approach them as equals. Us, Taiwan said. They were waiting for us. For humans, Dr. Park agreed. Every other spacefaring race evolved as prey species, with caution bred into them. Only humans evolved alongside predators as both hunter and hunted. We understand them in a way no other species can. This changes everything, Minseo said, looking stunned. If the Titans are sentient, artificially created beings, they have rights under Confederation law. They can't be controlled or restricted by the Council. They're more than sentient, Junho said. They have a hive mind, a collective intelligence. They share thoughts and memories across vast distances. Thunder knows what all Titans know. A loud alarm interrupted them. Red lights flashed throughout the base. Proximity alert, Taiwan said, checking his communicator. Multiple ships entering the atmosphere. The inspection team isn't due for 3 days, Minseo said, frowning. They rushed to the command center. The main screen showed 6 large ships descending toward the base. They weren't Confederation designs. Drakkar ships, Taiwan said grimly. Bigger than before. They've come back with a full attack force. Alert all personnel, Dr. Park ordered. Get the riders to their Titans. There's more, said a communication officer. We're receiving a transmission from a Confederation ship in orbit. They're ordering us to stand down and prepare for quarantine. The Council has voted to restrict all human expansion, effective immediately. They can't do that, Minseo protested. They just did, Taiwan replied. He turned to Dr. Park. Get all riders ready, full combat protocol. Even the experimental units? She asked. Taiwan nodded. Everything we have. As Minseo watched in confusion, Dr. Park pressed a button on the control panel. A hidden door in the wall slid open, revealing an armory filled with specialized rider equipment. What are experimental units? Minseo asked. Something we developed after the first Drakkar attack, Taiwan explained. Space-capable rider suits. They allow Titans to survive briefly in vacuum. That's impossible, Minseo said. Dr. Park smiled grimly. Impossible is what humans do best. Outside, riders rushed to their Titans. Junho and Thunder led the group, now wearing a sleek black suit with additional armor plates. 24 rider pairs assembled in the main field as the Drakkar ships loomed overhead. In the command center, the main screen changed to show a Confederation representative, a tall Velexi with blue skin and 4 arms. This is Senior Diplomat Kez, the alien announced. By order of the Confederation Council, human expansion is hereby restricted. Planet Titan is to be quarantined until further notice. All research material is to be handed over to Confederation authorities. And the Drakkar ships? Taiwan asked. Are they working for you now? The Velexi looked uncomfortable. The Drakkar have been authorized to secure potentially dangerous materials. You mean steal our research? Dr. Park said angrily. You've gone too far, Kez replied. Creating war beasts that can survive in space? The Council cannot allow this. They're not beasts, Taiwan said firmly. And they're not ours to control. They're our partners. Minseo stepped forward. As Earth's ambassador, I formally protest this action. It violates 3 separate treaties and the Sentient Rights Accord. Protest, noted, Kez said coldly. But the decision is final. The screen went dark. Taiwan turned to Dr. Park. Launch the riders, he ordered. Show them what humans and Titans can do together. As the Drakkar ships descended and Confederation enforcers prepared to land, 24 Titans and their human riders rose into the sky, their special suits glowing with energy as they leapt higher than should have been possible. The only species insane enough to ride monsters into space, Minseo whispered, watching them go. That's why they fear us. No, Dr. Park corrected her. That's why they need us. 5 years had passed since humans first discovered planet Titan. What began as a small research outpost had sparked a transformation that rippled across the galaxy. Now, Admiral Ji-Un-yoon stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Horizon, preparing for the most important diplomatic mission of her career. "Admiral, we're approaching the Confederation capital," her first officer reported. Ji-Un nodded. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. Her uniform bore the new emblem of the Titan Corps, a human hand and a Titan claw side by side. "Status of our escort?" she asked. "All 12 Titan carriers report ready," the officer replied. "The riders are standing by." Through the view screen, Ji-Un could see the massive space station that served as the Confederation's central hub. Hundreds of ships from different species docked at its many ports. The Horizon moved slowly toward its assigned docking bay. "We're receiving a transmission from the council chamber," the communications officer announced. "Put it through," Ji-Un ordered. The main screen showed the Confederation Council in session. Dozens of different species sat in a circular arrangement. At the center stood senior diplomat Kez, who had once tried to quarantine planet Titan. Now he looked nervous. "Admiral Yoon," he said formally, "the Council welcomes Earth's diplomatic mission. However, we must insist that your escorts remain at a safe distance." Ji-Un smiled slightly. "The Titans are part of our delegation, Diplomat Kez. They represent their own interest in these negotiations. Surely you don't expect us to allow those creatures into the council chamber," Kez protested. "They won't fit," Ji-Un replied calmly. "But they will observe. It's a condition of our attendance." There was a murmur among the council members. Finally, a new voice spoke. "We accept your terms, Admiral." The speaker was an elderly Gorn named Tull, now the council's High Chancellor. He had been present at the first contact with the Titans years ago. "Thank you, Chancellor," Ji-Un said. "We'll begin docking procedures immediately." An hour later, Ji-Un led her delegation through the grand halls of the Confederation Station. With her were Colonel Taiwan Kim, now a veteran of 2 Drakkar Wars, Dr. Hai-Jin Park, still the leading expert on Titan biology, and Hyun-Woo Shin, the most experienced of all Titan riders. They entered the council chamber to a mix of whispers and stares. Most species had only seen Titans in recordings, never in person, and certainly never in such a formal setting. "The Earth delegation is recognized," Chancellor Tull announced. "Admiral Yoon, you may present your proposal." Ji-Un stepped forward. "Honored members of the council. 5 years ago, humans discovered a species that everyone else considered too dangerous to approach. Today, I come to present the Titan Accords, a new framework for cooperation between all sentient species." She activated a holographic display. Images appeared showing the evolution of the Titan program, from first contact to the space-adapted Titans that now served alongside humans. "The Drakkar Wars proved that the old approaches to galactic security have failed," Ji-Un continued. "When the Drakkar fleet attacked the Confederation capital 6 months ago, it was the Titan Corps that turned the tide. The display showed the battle that had saved the Confederation. Space-adapted Titans, each with a human rider, moving through the vacuum to disable Drakkar ships. The creatures had evolved further with human help, developing specialized organs that allowed them to survive in space for up to an hour. What you once called insanity, we called courage," Ji-Un said. "What you saw as recklessness, we recognized as necessary evolution," Diplomat Kez stood. "No one questions the Titan's effectiveness in battle, Admiral, but many council members still have concerns about control. What happens if these creatures turn against us?" "They won't." Hyun-Woo Shin spoke for the first time. The veteran rider stepped forward. His neural link implant was visible at the base of his skull, glowing softly. "Because they're not slaves or weapons. They're partners." Hyun-Woo touched his implant and the chamber's main screen changed. It now showed a view from outside the station. Several space-adapted Titans hovered there, their armor gleaming in the starlight. Each was massive, nearly the size of a small ship. "They can hear me now," Hyun-Woo explained, "and I can hear them. After 5 years of neural link development, we don't just share commands. We share thoughts, feelings, even dreams. The Titans have their own culture, Dr. Park added, their own goals and desires. They were created as weapons by an extinct species, but they've evolved far beyond that purpose. And now they want formal recognition, Tame said. As do we. Chancellor. Tall leaned forward. What exactly are you proposing, Admiral? A new division within the Confederation, Jiun replied. The Titan Corps will serve as peacekeepers, with both humans and Titans as equal members. In return, both species will have voting rights on the Council. A buzz of conversation filled the chamber. What the humans proposed was unprecedented. No species had ever shared council representation with another. This is highly irregular, Kez protested. So is everything humans do, Tull replied, with what might have been a smile. That's what makes them valuable. The debate continued for hours. Finally, Chancellor Tull called for a vote. The result was close, but the Titan Accords were approved. As the human delegation left the council chamber, Hyun Woo paused. They want to speak to us, he said, touching his neural link. Outside a large viewport, one of the Titans moved closer to the station. It was Thunder, Junho Bei's partner, now the oldest of the space-adapted Titans. Its yellow eyes seemed to look directly at the humans inside. What are they saying? Jiun asked. Hyunwoo smiled. They're proud and grateful. For thousands of years, they waited for a species brave enough, or crazy enough, to see them as more than monsters. They never expected to find friends among the stars. Later, as other species began their first careful approaches to training, Titans under human guidance, Taiwan stood with Ji-eun watching the process. A young Velexi scientist was nervously offering food to a juvenile Titan while its parent watched closely. Do you think they'll succeed? Ji-eun asked. Some will, Taiwan replied. The ones who can overcome their fear. The ones who see that forming bonds with what frightens you is sometimes the wisest path. Is that what makes humans special? Ji-eun wondered. Our ability to bond with predators? Not just that, Taiwan said thoughtfully. It's our willingness to reach out when everyone else pulls away. We see a dangerous creature and think partner instead of enemy. We look at the galaxy and see possibilities where others see only threats. On the other side of the viewport, the Velexi scientist had managed to touch the juvenile Titan's snout. The creature made a soft rumbling sound that might have been pleasure. It begins again, Taiwan said with a smile, but this time they have us to guide them. The only species insane enough to tame them, Ji-eun said, and wise enough to know that taming means partnership, not control. Exactly, Taiwan agreed. That's the true strength of humanity. Not our technology or our numbers, but our crazy, wonderful ability to make friends with monsters. Outside in the starlit darkness, the Titans moved in graceful patterns around the station, their armor reflecting the light of distant suns. They were no longer weapons or beasts, but partners in humanity's greatest adventure, bringing a new kind of understanding to the stars.